Welcome to the Inside View. I'm Ralph Renzulli, your host. As always, thank you for watching. My guest today is Deborah Kaufman. She's back for another update on city affairs. I think this is our 6th podcast together. So we have a lot to talk about, and let's get right to it. Mara, thanks for coming in. As always, I appreciate it.
My pleasure, as always.
Okay, great. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, obviously we have an election coming up next month.
Right.
Early voting is October 25th, and Election Day is the 4th. What are your thoughts on that? Any thoughts on the election?
Well, I think that the change this time for the odd year election put some of the aldermen into running 2 years in a row. They ran last year. They're running. Ran last year, and they have to run this year as well. Or to 24, that's when they were running along with me, and they're running again. So it's a very quick turn for some of them. It is.
Also on the ballot this year is the switch from the treasurer's position from an elected position to an appointed one. And I know you feel strongly about this. You want to give me your opinion and why this is so important to the city.
Yeah. The last time this was brought up in 21, I looked at it and I thought, why should we change anything? I like tradition. I like things to stay the same, and I thought it was a good idea. I had no idea what was going on with the deep dive of our population loss. We frankly do not have enough people to be able to get good candidates in accounting. The odds are just against us. If you figure 4,500 people in town and you figure out how many adults, maybe 2,000, and then from that, how many are working in accounting, and then you look at, I need senior level accounting, I need a CFO type of individual controller. They just don't exist. I spent 8 months looking for someone who would fit the bill. I interviewed 2 people. They were great candidates, but they were working in Utica and Rome. And first of all, they were making 6 figures, which is out of the budget of what we work with typically. And outside of that, they didn't want to run for public office. Accounting people are not these people that, want to go out and hug babies and shake hands and let me give you my latest slogan for my campaign. They just want to do their accounting work, and they like it that way. And so it makes it a little bit challenging. So when I looked at, initially I thought, gosh, we need to expand the geographic area. And I thought, well, we'll just do a resolution, a local law. We'll pass that and change it, expand it out a little bit so we would cover the neighboring communities. Well, in an elected position, you cannot do that. You have to reside in the 3.99 square miles of Little Falls. Even our current treasurer, she married, and they're residing in Daleshell. She cannot run again under the current law. Our deputy treasurer, she can't move up into that role because she lives in the town of Little Falls and is not eligible. So she's running on the ballot. But when the election is concluded, if the referendum doesn't go through, she will have to move to Little Falls to be able to do the job.
Is she willing to do that?
Her family is not so keen on it. So it's a real challenge. So I don't know where we would end up with that.
You're referring to Nicole.
Nicole, yes. So, but we really need to look in terms of, we've done things in an elected position like this for many years, and it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. You end up getting whoever's brave enough to get out there and run for office.
So it's really name recognition.
It is.
Instead of credentials and the things that the city really needs. Like in any business, you want a wide array of resumes to look at, so you have choices.
Right. I want the best candidate I can possibly find for the job. Yeah. We are not in a position with the fiscal stress that we're in to play games. I have to have someone I can rely on. And right now, I've got, Sarah and Nicole, they're doing great, but I have to augment that with the reporting that I need with Bonadio, who handles our accounting on the outside. So if I had someone who could do everything in one person, that would be wonderful, and that's the way to go. So you're not paying the salary for the treasurer, and then you're also paying for the outside accounting firm. But the reality of small towns, just like us, they have the same problem. The population has declined so much. We lost 7% of our population since 2015. That's 10 years. In 10 years, that's a lot of the population. And it's not like it was a big number to begin with. Our population has been declining for the last 50 years. And so when you lose that many people, you just don't have, enough to be able to find a qualified candidate. So what I'm proposing is to expand that to neighboring communities. So someone in Dallsville, someone in Town of Little Falls, Manheim, Danube, even Herkimer, those areas that we have enough of a population for the odds to start working with us.
So somebody degreed in perhaps a CPA or a finance person who has an extensive experience dealing with city finances.
Yeah, city finances are different than corporate. A lot of it is the naming of different things, and there's a lot more rules and regulations that you work with. I did not have municipal experience before coming in, but I had a lot of corporate experience and knew my way around a spreadsheet. So for me, it was just understanding how they word things differently and how different funds are balanced, things like that. So but for someone who is coming into that job, certainly an accounting degree, a finance degree is helpful. But even that, you look at balancing the checking accounts. That's not something they teach, and that's not anything anybody.
I don't think kids today even balance their checks. I don't think they even look at it. No, it's all online, and that's what they go with.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying, no, they spend the money, they put a deposit in there. When the deposit is gone, they put more money in there. That's how they balance their checkbook.
I'm glad you're not running the city that way.
No,
we have enough trouble. We don't need that.
So we really need a strong person. CPA level, it could be a senior accounting person, someone who a combination of education and just raw experience, just has been doing it for a long time, would be a good candidate for us as well.
Did you budget for that, hoping that it would be approved?
Well, yes, of course. You're always looking forward 6 months to a year. But right now, at the end of the term, Sarah was looking at leaving. And so if the referendum goes through, that will trump any elected position. So appointed becomes the rule of the day January 1st, if that goes together, which would allow me to look at the breadth of candidates and who we have who's interested in it and make a decision as to the best.
So Sarah's leaving at the end of her term.
That's her plan.
And Nicole will fill in.
She will fill in.
If it's approved.
That's how we're looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Nicole does not have the educational background, but she's an incredible numbers person. So I have confidence that she would, make a good candidate and kind of groom. We still would need Bonadio to help us in that case.
Okay.
So it's a judgment call at that moment in time.
Is the referendum on the front of the ballot or in the back of the ballot? Will people have to mark yes or no?
I would think it was on the back of the ballot, but I'm not certain.
Usually the referendums
I haven't looked at the ballot. I know.
I say that because we want people to find it.
Right.
And make sure they look at that.
From what I heard, there's another referendum, I think school or something like that, along with that one.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the word budget. You're in. I was listening to the last Common Council meeting, and you were talking about you've started the process.
Right.
How do you feel about the upcoming budget?
Oh,
so you're doing it a little earlier than you normally do. I think.
Yeah,
right?
intentionally.
Yeah.
And that stems from looking at what we can do with what we have. You'll notice there's also going to be another hearing coming up at this meeting the council meeting, that will talk about repealing the transition from the calendar year to the fiscal year. We had to backtrack it, and I'll tell you why. There is a stub year, which we were kind of working through, and that was a 4-month period of time. So January to April, we would be, we had to, that would be 26, and then 27 would begin March 1st. Well, it looks good. Everything was approved. We went back and forth a few times, and, technical things that we needed to add to it. Reality is we couldn't fund the 4 months without going back to the taxpayers and asking them to pay for 16 months in their tax.
But you did that before. The city did that before.
No.
They always had that 4-month gap before.
We always had the 4-month gap, but now we're calling it a year. And you can't have a year without any tax revenue.
Is this something the state requires? Or?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So I didn't know about that until recently. And when I looked at that, I thought, there's no way in the world I'm going to do that to people. That's too much, And so then I looked at other ways of doing it, and nothing was working. We couldn't fund it through a reserve, nothing like that. We just couldn't afford it. So we decided for the time being that we would look at maybe doing it in the future when we have a better footing financially. But the other problem too was that if you're going into a fiscal year, the rule is that the TAN, the tax anticipation note that we usually take out toward the end of the year to make the first 4 months, we would not be able to take that out 30 days prior to the beginning of a new year. State rules, we would only be able to take that out 10 days prior to the beginning of a new year. So if we ran a little bit short in the 4 months and needed to take the TAN out, essentially it takes 2 to 3 weeks for us to do a turnaround on a ban, right, with a TAN. And why would we take it out 10 days before we get our property tax? We wouldn't. It wouldn't make any sense at all. No. And once you do it that way and you make that change, you're going to be stuck with that indefinitely. And so you're removing a tool that we've used that has helped us over the years, just taking it off the table. So the two things, the big one was 4 months added to the 12 months of taxes just was a deal breaker. There's just no way.
So we're back to square one.
So we're in a calendar year. The one thing we did keep out of that whole thing was to create our budget and have it settled before the beginning of the year. So we no longer work with 4 months of not knowing where we stand. We know exactly where we stand. So it's not the free-for-all of 4 months and let's get this in quickly before the budget gets in here, and then you're stuck with it when you get to budget time. So that'll make it a little bit better.
There's a lot of talk today, and this is really a national issue about health care and the impact that's going to have on people, and you've got a shutdown in Washington, and obviously the tax credits as part of Obamacare factor into that whole thing. So a lot of people are going to be paying more for health insurance. I know my own policy is it's a supplemental to Medicare, obviously, and that's going up, and I'm probably going to lose a couple benefits. But my question is the city feeling the impact of an increase in healthcare costs next year?
Oh my gosh, yes. I even have a couple of notes that I jotted down so we would get it right. We have 2 different healthcare plans. One is MVP, and then the other is Excelis. MVP, which we switched to last year because the rates with Excelis were too high, went up 21%.
Wow.
Excelis went up 11%. So, and then we have Comp Alliance, which is workers' comp, went up 25%. And our pensions, the pension for the, the DPW folks That went up to 16.5%. The one for police and fire went up to 33.7% of payroll. Those were not a huge percent number. The latter was 2.5%, and the DPW was 1.3%. But you're talking about create a bucket that is we pay every year $1.2 million, and you add a percent to that, you add 3% to it, and you've got some serious money. So there's and even the workers' comp, the Comp Alliance going up 25%. These are not sustainable things. The city and other municipalities are screaming about it. What do you do? Every year, it's been double digits.
What entity is driving those increases on the pensions?
Well, that would be the state. It's state-run pension fund.
Yeah. Okay.
And everything that you look at, even utilities, electricity, everything is going up. It's going up for the city, and I think people sometimes they know what their budget is and what it's been going up, but we're experiencing the same thing with larger dollar numbers.
So when you add up the healthcare cost increase, the pensions, what's that? Do you have a feel for that number?
I don't offhand, but it's sizable. It's we're probably talking, I would say, anywhere from 500 to 750,000, six figures, with all of the increases.
Wow.
And on the healthcare part of it, we're looking at a program where it's kind of a mock self-employed program where we cover the deductibles. And it's really good for the employers. It's a very positive thing for the employees because they have a card and that takes care of their deductible. City has to be to sock away a certain amount to be able to do that. But right now we have a younger group of people. They typically don't go to the doctor as frequently as when we get older. We really take advantage of those. So that may be something that we're looking at, we can do, and that would save the city $250,000. So that's a serious consideration in the budget.
Okay. Are there any union contracts that are up that are going to affect the budget for 26?
Yes. We have two that I'm working on right now. Both with CSEA, that's the union, and one is for the DPW and the other is for police or fire. I take that back, fire. And then we have next year we'll be doing the police.
So you're negotiating this year?
I'm in the middle right now of negotiating two union contracts, doing the budget, and having OSC here looking and reviewing the budget. So we're busy.
Are you educating the union members on the difficult situation that the city's in?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they already know. But
they know, but sometimes it doesn't feel real to them. Right, they're not looking at the numbers all the time, and but they've been very considerate. CSEA for the fire department, I've been working with them, and I think their requests seem reasonable enough right now. We're getting into the numbers in our next meeting, so we'll
essential
go from there.
services, it's tough, isn't it?
It is.
Sensitive.
You can cut everything, and certainly we have cut everything, but you have to have the essential services. You've got to have fire. You've got to have police. You've got to have, DPW. You have to have EMS. Even though EMS is not considered an essential service, I don't know of anybody in their right mind that would think that it's not. But regardless, you have to have that. Wastewater, water treatment. We experienced this past year a water emergency. And that was really challenging. So we had to go out for a ban to be able to, move forward with it. But our plant, the sand in the plant reservoirs couldn't keep up with the volume. So we had to triple the capacity of what we were producing in order to get what we needed. So that was a big thing this year. Potholes, sinkholes, you name it, everything that could possibly happen in a year, we probably experienced it this year. But what do? You have to keep going. You can't, these are essential things.
What's the ratio of revenue versus expenses for 26? You have a prediction? Any better?
We've made some improvements, but with the high cost of everything going up, it's whittled away some of the improvements that we've made in the past. Wastewater that fund seems to be holding its own a little bit better. Water, of course, because we had to invest in the water, the filtration system, the membrane system, and all that. That's up again, so we've got to cover that. So essentially right now we're looking for about $1 million to $1.2 million to balance the budget.
You're short $1 million.
Yes.
$1.2 million. So what?
So what you have
That's
to
a lot
do?
of money.
Well, you can only carve off so much,
Right.
right? And then and we are as lean as we can possibly be. In water and wastewater, we have 2 or 3 people depending on the department, and DPW was short 5 people. The police department, we're down, I think, 2, and you've got fire. We're holding pretty strong. We're where we need to be with fire, but all of it makes a difference. So we look at revenue, the revenue side, to see what creative things that we could do. We've got some ideas. There are a couple of pockets within the community or the city that we generate some revenue. So we're looking at how can we look at things a little differently. How can we restructure the way we do business so we're more productive with fewer people? How can we speed through things? How can we really improve the organization, not just individual departments, but looking at cross-training, looking at collaboration between departments. All of that is on the table, and we've been talking about it for the last 6 months.
I know in last year's budget, or I should say this year's budget, actually, you had a line item in there selling some property the city owned to generate revenue. How did that go?
Great. We have 190,000 in properties on the market right now, and I have contracts on 4 or 5 of them. So that it's going beautifully. It's just that it takes time. And it's going to slide into revenue on that. It's going to slide into 26 instead of 25.
Okay.
So, and then we also have the blighted homes. We've been working on trying to get title on some of these and also be able to get them back from Herkimer County. Once they're re-levied and they don't pay their taxes, the county then takes them over and collects. And so, the process is slow, usually trying to find who owns it right now. And some of them were bought by, LLCs, and you'll search 8 deep to find, someone to talk to. So we're working on it. We've got some good ideas for what to do with them. And a lot of remodelers and people like that have shared an interest in wanting to work on these, which is good for us.
I'm sure the Finance Committee's been involved, correct?
We
in this
met.
process?
We met just the other day, yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, because of open meetings law, we had to meet individually instead of as a group. And so, which is what we had intended, because we're in the very early stages of making the sausage, if you know what I mean. So we're spitballing some concepts and things like that, and it was more appropriate to have individual one-on-one meetings.
Let's talk about deficit financing. Is that complete?
It is. So we received the money, the ban, September. So we are allowed $3.4 million is what the state approved for deficit financing, and we took a ban out of $3 million, holding the other in reserve to see if we see how we're making out. I put an extra 5. It covers and liquidated the $2.8 million in the water, the general fund, and the Gulf Fund. So those deficits have been liquidated.
Yeah, you said that in the Common Council meeting, and when you said it, I thought to myself, gee, I wonder if some people are going to think that debt has totally gone away. But we have to pay this money back. The
Yes.
deficit.
Yes.
The money that you borrowed to eliminate that debt still has to be paid back. So it's
That's
still
correct.
hanging out there. You've just made it a longer term payback.
Right.
Does that make sense?
10 years.
10 years. So you've got 10 years to pay that back. You've got how many years on the pension, the late pension payments?
That ends in 28. So
All right, so
with that $30,000 a month,
3 more years.
plus saving up the 1.2 million and now more, so we have that payment at the end of the year. A lot of cost, a lot of personal services, a lot of, personnel related
We're going
costs.
backwards, aren't we?
We're not going backward. We're not shrinking or sinking down any lower. But boy, is it hard to get the what we end up charging in taxes and what we end up with additional fees on water and sewer barely is covering what expenses we have. And when you have to take out debt to have water, you have interest payments. And when you have the wastewater treatment, that big project going on, the interest payments on that. So you've got all of those things go into the equation of how we end up having an unbalanced budget.
Yeah.
It will balance by the time we're done and over the next few days, but it's brutal this year. So, and the good news is that we stopped the decline of sinking. So the funds have been liquidated, so we're at zero. Remember we talked about getting to zero would be a good thing. We got to zero, and in the meantime, too, we got a little cash flow. But those funds are going to have to build up to what we always wanted was a reserve so we could last 6 months or a year, no matter what happened. And so we wouldn't have to go to the market to borrow short-term financing with something that we have money in reserve. So now is the building process. Now we're trying to start growing and building. But boy, is it hard when the expenses continue to grow. And the majority of, we have healthcare and all of that. When you take a person who's making $50,000 a year, we have to allocate $100,000 in the budget just to cover all of the benefits, retirement, all of the different things that are associated with it that have been added to their pay over the years in different union agreements. So not easy. We will come up with something. It will balance, I guarantee it. But anything that is not absolutely essential is not likely to be in there.
Okay, we're going to follow up on that, but I think it's a good time to take a short break.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Visit the Daily Post and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the Mohawk Valley. Our mission is to generate interest in the area and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our podcast, or sign up for our weekly email newsletter. Stop by today at thedailypost.digital. You'll be glad you did.
And we're back with Mayor Kaufman. Mayor, I want to follow up. Before the break, you mentioned that right now you're short $1.2 million in the budget, but you said you're going to guarantee that you're going to find that money. Where's that? Can you talk about where that's coming from?
I've got some ideas. I'm just not ready to bring them to the public just yet that are on the revenue side. That is a restructuring of how we do things. The other is going to have to be cuts. So we're going to have to find items in that budget that we can reduce. The thing of it is, with a limited population, where years ago mayors would just look at property tax and say that we've got it covered. Now our property tax only covers $3.4 million on a $10 million budget.
Yeah, it's a big nut to crack, isn't it?
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And this didn't happen yesterday. This has been going on for years and years. This population decline, I was talking about the 7% in the last 10 years. Well, if you compare that with Amsterdam, that lost 4% at the same time, and Gloversville, 3.2, we're way up there, So this is unusual. But the sad part of it is, you elect officials who get in and they don't have a business background. I went back 30 years. I couldn't find anybody with a business background. And their perception of what the mayor does is different. If you had a city manager, you'd have someone who is working on the day-to-day operations. But the reality is, in the charter, the mayor's responsible and CEO of the organization and responsible for all of the operations. We just had people with a different skill set. They just were not in this arena. And so I think it made it hard for them to poke their head up and say, what's going on here? And if you didn't look at the population decline, I think that...
Is it population decline, or is it the number of homes that we have that we can tax? And in addition to that, the number of not-for-profits that we have, that's eroded the tax base a bit too.
It has. And then you're looking at a lot of our properties used to be single-family homes. Now you have a lot of them who've been sliced up 6 to 8 units in a single-family home, and those are tenants. And so you're getting not tax from the individuals, but you're getting tenants. And you're also getting a whole lot of parking issues, because where a single-family home used to be, 1 car per family or a couple of cars, now you've got 4 to 6 cars per unit.
Okay. I can't recall which interview this came up in, but we were talking about Vets Park and how you were hoping that you could get a private entity to take that over, to take that off the city's shoulders. Anything new on that?
No, they actually decided to back out. And so I'm looking at other opportunities. I think, my thinking with Vets Park, everybody loves Vets Park. We want to retain it. We want to enhance it. It's kind of tired and old, and it needs a lot of money to do it right and to be competitive with other parks. It's upside down. I mean, there's no question about it. Our revenue is right around $17,000 for the year, and the cost of keeping that park pristine and with all the chemicals and everything on it is over $200,000. So it's one of those things that when you're looking at a budget, you're looking at, well, what do we do about this, right? So, it's one of those things that is not absolutely essential, and we have to look at it that way. It's essential for the quality of life, and we love it. Same as the pool. We love those things. We don't want to give them up. But at the end of the day, what do we have to survive? And that's where we are. So while we stabilized with the deficit financing, we're not sinking. We're still having a hard time with enough revenue to meet the expenses. So if you can't grow revenue, then you have to drop expenses. And there's a happy balance between there. And the ideas that we have for revenue, I think, are going to help us out. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that would be a tough choice. It would be a tough choice for me. It's been I played baseball up there back before it was renovated, so it's been there forever. And
I know.
At least forever, it seemed like to me anyway. So to see that go would be difficult for our people to accept.
Well, I think it wouldn't go. We would still, maintain it by mowing it, but it may not have the collegiate-looking fields that we have right now. But we're working on it. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come up with enough money so that we don't have to do that. But I have to be realistic, and I can't manufacture. This is not my problem that I created for everyone. This is what we inherited over the years. And that's why with elected officials, you're getting people who are good at running for office. They get in. Do they have a clue as to what the job entails? That's why it's so important to me with the treasurer's position. With an elected official, you don't do background checks. You don't check the financial status. Do they have anything in their background criminal, anything that would cause somebody a concern that there might be theft? You don't call their previous employer. You get what you get. And times are changing where we need serious people in certain roles. And that's why, the referendum, I understand there's 3 referendums on the back of the ballot. And so we're one of them. One of them is for Herkimer County, and the other one, I think, is
very important
state one, yeah.
So you mentioned the cost of running Vets Park, keeping that up to snuff. What about the pool? How much is that per year?
The pool usually runs between $80,000 and $110,000, depending on what the need is. It needs a new filter. It needs some work inside, and we have some funds that were donated to us for, repairing the bathrooms and doing that a little bit better. So again, upside down, there's no revenue from that.
But it was well used.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I think we had about 3,000 people that used that pool this summer.
These are all things that
it's quality of life.
Yeah, it makes up what makes Little Falls a really nice place to live.
Does.
Which brings me to the golf course. I've always thought very highly. It's where I learned how to play golf. I've said this before, but I've noticed that you've got an ad out for a clubhouse manager, and I think, and I could be wrong about this, but over the years, I think the concept was that as long as it broke even, it was okay. But golf courses can make money.
Right.
And I'm not an expert at that. I've never run a golf course, but just thinking about that, have you looked at that as to how some other way that we could manage it so that there is some revenue for the city and it's not so separate? It's kind of like a separate entity, right? Well, it is on the books anyway. It's separate.
Not anymore. No? We brought it
okay.
into a line item about a year ago to the general ledger. We brought it back in. So it's no longer an independent fund. So it's part of the general fund. So anything that's in the general fund, of course, I'm looking at, does it have the potential to deliver revenue and how much? And so, yes, I've spent the last almost 2 months working on this, trying to come up with a solution to the contract term is up, and it was 6-year term. And so this is a perfect time to poke our head out and see what we might be able to do with that. So there is an ad out looking for proposals from people who might be interested in it. But we're looking at it more as a facility lease than the way we have it right now. Which the only revenue that we get out of it is trail fees from the cart access on the trail on the course.
So you want the clubhouse manager to literally lease it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's one way to go. That's the preferable way right now. They would have their own carts and their own liquor license. Most cities make money on the cart fees, and most cities own the carts. So that is also an option available to us. And then the concession would be liquor license and food. And that's usually not too hard to come by. And so we're just looking at a lot of options because I think it was a sweet deal, but it was heavily weighted in one direction. And the city keeping that golf course pristine in the way it is not an inexpensive thing to do. And the taxpayers deserve a little bit more than what they've been getting. So anything that can generate revenue is something we're looking at.
Okay. We were talking earlier about your time in office, and you're in office 22 months. How would you compare? I'm going in a different direction now. How would you compare your approach to the job as you did it when you first took office? Let's say the first 6 months or so, as compared to the way you approach it now. Is it any different?
Yeah, the first 6 months you're kind of in a fog and you're just absorbing everything that you can possibly learn, where things are, what kind of policies, procedures we have in place, who's doing what, and what you have to work with. I mean, I started out looking at solving problems and still solve problems every day. We're better off structurally as far as our policies, procedures, where we spend money. We no longer spend money on giving money and donations to nonprofits. They can fund themselves. They're capable. City taxpayers, we don't need to be doing that, right? I cut everything that wasn't nailed down. And so we did. And people were not happy on some things, but we really had to make some tough decisions and quickly. What I didn't know, and when I first got in, was how little time I would have to fix problems. I had no time. Second month I was in, we started the pension folks were calling for $3 million overnight. Okay, and they don't fool around. They're serious people, and so you don't say, "Well, I just got here," No, they wanted it overnight. Then you get into the next couple of months. I had requested an audit by the state so that I at least knew what I was dealing with. Where's the floor? They came in, did their audit, and while they were doing their audit, our outside accounting firm discovered we were $2.8 million in the hole. And so that whole year, that first year, when I talked to my friend at the Division of Budget, he said, hang on as best you can, because we couldn't get to the legislation. It was, summertime at that point. And so we did. That's what we did. We hung on as best we could, learned a lot of things. Now I approach it with more looking to the future, not just solving the problems of today, because there's tons of them every day. Before 9 o'clock, there's usually some crazy going on that needs to be resolved. But also looking 10 years out, our water infrastructure, and looking at being able to provide water for our surrounding communities is a real source of revenue. It's a solid source of revenue, and it's within reach. We did a lot of smart things with our emergency water by looking at equipment with better technology for the very purpose of getting to that revenue. So that's going to be important 3 to 5 years from now and forever going forward. And we have an abundance of water. Where our dam was down 2 feet, Hinckley was down 25 feet. So we've got 5,000 acre watershed that we can even tap into additional wells if we needed to. But right now we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the water sale issue, because I was going to ask you about that. Let's be realistic. It's going to cost the city quite a bit of money to do this, I would think, unless there are grants out there that we can get. But
there's lots of grants for that.
Okay. Be realistic. How far out in the future are we?
Well, if you're
talking,
it depends on where we're going to deliver. Most of the communities around are about 6 miles away. So and we're already drawing from Spruce Lake area, right? And so the King Springs and coming down that way. So we're coming down into the city. Everything is gravity oriented with the piping and how it flows. So getting a community like Dallasville, for instance, hooked up to city water. They already have their own reservoir, but this would be a switch that they could flip on when their reservoir is low during certain times of the year. That could be done in as quickly as 3 to 5 years. We're going right past them already. And the idea of being able to clean the water at the source and then delivering it down makes it more economical. We usually deliver dirty water from the lake, not really dirty, but you know what I mean, it's raw water, to Little Falls and clean it through the plant there. But if we did that up in the source area, we'd be able to go to Dallasville, Manheim, town of Little Falls, around that way, and then off to Middleville, and then maybe down into Herkimer, town of Herkimer, and all. So it's just a rerouting of the piping. Some of the piping is there, but would need to be enhanced.
But
and
how do we know
updated.
these people would actually want that? I mean, if you live in a rural area, generally they have a drilled well, and once they put the well in,
Yeah.
it's free water,
Right.
and it's in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, it's really good water. So how do you go about? Would you need to do a survey to see what the potential is?
Exactly. And so I have 11 municipalities that I meet with at my invitation every month. And we've been working with the state infrastructure folks from the Department of State, and they're wonderful, and also from Herkimer County, our person from the state for DOH, on what to do and how to be able to do it. We're working on a feasibility study. It's a $100,000 feasibility study to map all of that out. And I have 6 municipalities that have signed council resolutions to participate in that study. So it's a matter of looking, taking steps in that direction, getting buy-in. Most are interested in it because their old wells are failing. Also, a lot of the agricultural areas find it difficult for development to come into their area without a city water or a reservoir water supply. Wells and septic tanks just don't cut it if you're really looking at development in the future.
Okay.
And while we're coming that direction anyway, it makes good sense to tap into it while the pipe is being laid.
So this meeting that you have with the other mayors or town supervisors or whatever, it's a regional thing, right? And
It is.
So tell me, what other issues come out of that? Because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about a lot of the same problems, high rates on health insurance. We talk about fire EMS, the lack of it here and there of EMS solutions. We talk about anything you can imagine that would be pension plans. Some of them are in the same boat that we are in, to a certain extent. So highway department, we also share things. Town of Little Falls is always there, with a piece of equipment. Daleshville the same way. A couple of years back, before I got into office, we borrowed a police car from Daleshville because our fleet was down to 0. And we had to borrow a police car from the neighbors to be able to go forward. So we've done a lot of building back and building up as far as trying to maintain things. But and then town of Little Falls, offered, well, if you need a street sweeper, we've got one if you ever want to borrow it. So we have conversations like that. But we're all looking at how do we survive together? What can we do as a region that has a greater impact than one by one? And do we all need to double up on everything? Or can we have a ladder truck, or can we have a tanker in one community and share with the others and when there's a need?
Has there ever been a conversation about the town of Little Falls and the city of Little Falls literally joining as one entity?
We, I think more casual conversations, but both communities would have to be looking at it. I think at some point in time it may make a lot of sense to be able to join forces. We talk about their comprehensive plan that they're working with right now. I shared ours with them and said, we share the same history when you think about it, the same landmass. I mean, you're intertwined within the city from one block to the next, or as it is up near Top Notch, you've got a person's house where the bedroom is in one community and the kitchen is in the other, right? So yes, it may make sense going forward to dust off those discussions and say, what do you really think?
Okay. Well, back to Little Falls. Obviously, Adirondack Bank is renovating their new office space over on the corner of Albany and Main Street. That seems to be coming along well. But we still have the eyesore at the corner of Ann and Main, the old Herkimer County Trust. Is there anything new on that?
Well, we had some development interests. The numbers didn't really work for the amount of renovation that is required of that building. It has not been maintained to a level that would make it an easy thing for someone. So if you're looking at, 90 or 9 million to repair and put things together, we were looking at housing on the upper levels, and you are only going to get 70 to 90,000 in revenue a year. That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the numbers are not working in our favor. I'm hoping that with the ability to reallocate some of the DRI funds, that projects that never went forward, that we would be able to maybe help out with something with replacing those projects to get more housing in the downtown area. The one that was looking at it was market rate housing. And strong interest in that, loft apartments, and then there was, and then even the CVS parking lot. We have the owner of that property looking at doing something with regard to market rate housing.
But nothing concrete yet. Nothing.
No, these things take time. They have their people come out and they look and measure and decide whether it makes sense or not.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of interest from small businesses, though. We've had, I think, 6 right now in this year that have opened. And then, we've got Alex down on her bakery down on the Canal Place area. We've also, and up on Main Street, we've got Trusted Technologies. We've got Venture Forward. We've got the, photographer that's there. I'm trying to think of who else. Toca Boca. I mean, and more that are coming in that haven't really announced yet. So one is potentially a coffee shop that's really interesting sounding.
The bookstore?
Yeah, the bookstore.
Yeah, bookstore.
And another one that is looking at moving into the Main Street area. So.
Well, I hope some of those actually come to fruition, because there always seems to be a lot of talk about things that are going to happen, but it just never pans out.
Now, these are solid.
Okay.
They're already, most of them are already open and doing business. Okay. I mean, we, as a community, we have to be sensitive to the fact that, yes, we do want Main Street to look better, but we also have the obligation to support these businesses anytime we can. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're so used to getting in the car and going elsewhere. But Little Falls, if we're ever going to really give these people a fighting chance, we need to support their businesses.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned DRI a couple minutes ago. Anything new?
Well, we've got November the 13th. We're going to have a public hearing on the canopy project down on Main Street and the parking, a few things down there, streetscaping, to dust that off a little bit. I can't fund $3.4 million in putting up Main Street when I'm trying to find the funds to survive right now. And that's the holdup. I have 5 years to engage and get something done. I signed the contract last year. So we've got a little bit more time.
So it's 5 years from the date you sign it, as opposed to when they actually awarded us the money. There's a difference.
Yes, that's.
It took a long time for our library to get a contract in hand that we could actually sign.
Right. Ours was January. Yeah, January, very early part of January last year.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize how long it takes the state to manage this process. I mean, our library,
very complicated.
We're 3 years in, and we haven't broken ground yet for our elevator. We're going to. It's going to happen, but it's probably going to be in the spring. But It's just, you have to have a lot of patience with DRI money.
Well, and with the DRI, they want shovel ready. Okay. Most people don't want to. If it's shovel ready, they're ready to go. They don't want to wait 3 years or longer.
Yeah.
And then they don't want to wait 18 months to 2 years to get reimbursed. Mm-hmm. So it has its challenges. It's wonderful because it allows a chunk of money to come into a community that wouldn't otherwise probably be able to do it. Everybody is scrimping these days, and big projects like that take big grant money. So it's good in that respect, but you've got to be realistic.
Moving along, public safety. As you know, I did a slew of interviews with all of the common council candidates. Well, 11 out of the 12. One declined to do it. One of the common themes, and not every candidate mentioned this, but quite a few did, that there's a speeding problem in Little Falls in just about every ward. You're aware of this, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's happening is I think there needs to be a more concentrated effort to controlling this and eliminating it as much as we can.
Yeah.
Before something bad happens, really bad.
The speeding is a problem. We've looked at, you'll see more speed signs throughout the community as you're coming into town. You will see more of the portable signs coming. We ordered a few more to be able to use. The patrol, they're out there, but here's what happens. When they're there, everybody behaves themselves. Right? When the patrols are out there and they're giving tickets. And we've been given a lot of tickets. And then as soon as they leave, the speeders are back. And we have those portable signs that we've been putting up, flashing signs, which, shows what your speed is. As soon as we move them to another location, they go back to speeding. I think it's one of those things that the community has to embrace, that it's just too dangerous. And we've looked at and we approved being able to put a school zone all around the park near Benton Hall because of people not being able to see around cars, and they're speeding through there. Kids are walking across the park, and it's a very dangerous situation. So PD is on it. And they've been working on additional signage. There's one that they are going to put near Garden and where it hits the Garden Street, where it hits the park. That is a flashing sign, this school zone, really dedicating that area to school zone because of the kids. And there should be something probably done up at Top Notch area as well. People are in a big hurry, and these are not all kids that are speeding. These are soccer moms. These are, dads getting ready for work and have to get there fast. Everybody is in a hurry. Our speed limit is 30 miles an hour in the city. We looked at changing it to 25 miles an hour, and that may be something we have to do. But I don't think anybody's paying attention to those signs anyway. The difference between 25 and 30, I don't know that that's a home run for us.
Well, I think it would help. I had this conversation with a former police chief, probably, 6-7 years ago now. And he told me that unless they're going greater than 38, it doesn't pay to give them a ticket because it just gets thrown out of court or never even gets to court. So if you take it so you got 30 versus 38, and those are his words, not mine. Mm-hmm. If you take it down to 25, now you're up to
maybe you hit
33.
30, yeah.
So, which is if that's the limit, it's a little safer than 38, I think.
Yeah, I think that anybody who's speeding at, a mile over the speed limit is up for grabs, right? So I appreciate the comment that police chief was talking about. The challenge is that it needs, I think, more patrolling probably will help, but it's an understanding of changing these habits of zipping around everywhere. And we know there are certain areas that are problematic. Coming in on Monroe Street, you've got Furnace Street's really bad. You've got Loomis, it's been bad. So pockets here and there that are really challenging. And it's just a continued concerted effort. And they are giving tickets. What was happening before is that if it was, minor, they didn't worry about it. Now we are taking them. Every single one they are fined, and they do pay up because we're
stiff
on
enough. Are they stiff enough?
Oh yeah, and the fines had been increased, over the last year for different things, but also they are monitoring them, and if you don't pay on time, in many cases it doubles. So that hasn't been strong in the past. So we're very serious about it. There's no magic one thing that's going to fix it except to change.
Yeah, I understand that, and they have a lot of other things that a lot of people don't even know about that they're working on. But
right.
It's still a problem. And you mentioned earlier that we've had a decline in population, and I look at it this way too. there's an aesthetic thing. If I'm looking for somewhere to live and I come to Little Falls and I see all these cars running around, I see pickup trucks with exhaust systems that are way too loud, tractor trailers going down Ann Street, making that turn, and that's dangerous as hell. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if I want to live here. I don't know if I would live here. So I think it's all part of the marketing.
There's no disagreement that it's a need. And for whatever reason, the speeding seems to be greater for some reason coming zipping through town.
And it's gotten greater since COVID.
It has.
And I'm not sure why that is, but
I don't know.
it's I don't want to say it's out of control, but it feels like it's out of control.
It's just every once in a while you see a vehicle speeding and you look and you think, what are they thinking? Did they, people are walking their dogs, their kids are out playing. Yeah,
it's not a good look. Anyway.
We're working on it, though.
Right. Any update on the cannabis dispensary?
No activity on that at the moment.
Okay.
They looked at our foot traffic when they were here, and it was a day where it was like a Wednesday and at 4:00, and nothing was going on Main Street. It was during the point where Gigi's was closed for a period, and then White Rose was closed. So those that usually draw traffic were not there. So we've invited them back, and they said that they will definitely come back at some point in time. And so, but no activity.
And I know you know this. They got approval from the village board in Herkimer to put a dispensary there, and it kind of surprised me that they would put one 6 miles away, maybe do one and then do the other. That gave me some suspicions as to what their real strategy was.
And I don't know. I thought that what they were putting up in Herkimer was a different kind of. It was not a dispensary. It was a store, basically, to buy cannabis. But the dispensary was a whole other ballgame.
That could be.
But I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there are different communities that are really into it. And ours was not any decision that I made. This was a decision that was made for us that we would be open to cannabis years past in 23. So, it's to us, it's just a retail operation, just like any other retail operation in a commercial district.
Okay. How about CVS? Any prospects?
They also had, I've talked to the owner of the shopping center there, and he has a national retailer he's been talking with for that spot. So that's all I know.
Okay.
So there's something.
Yeah. Something's better than
something.
Nothing.
Is exactly.
All right. We've covered a lot of ground. Let me just end with this question. When you think about Little Falls and where we are now as compared to before, are you feeling better about things?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. We're going to make it through this. We've got some, tough times ahead here and there, but as a whole, we're in such a better place than we were. It's one of those things that we have an incredible staff at the city, and they've been here a long time, and most of them, and they work so hard, and nobody really knows what they do, but they have embraced the idea that the time now, we can't sink any further. We have to go forward, and they've been tremendously supportive. And I think that the people, too, out there that see the real work that we're doing, and it's very sophisticated and complicated, and most people don't get into the nitty-gritty detail, but they should feel really comfortable with the fact that major changes have been made for the better. We're more stable now, and we have a chance at the future. When I got in, it was survival. Can we make it? Can we make it through the year? That's where my head was at. I thought I would have a year or two to kind of gradually get in and change things and make them better. I didn't even have 2 months when disaster was striking. And then when I realized just what had been going on, short-term financing for everything under the sun, it angered me because nobody was looking at a solution. But you can't come up with solutions if you're not that close to it and when you are only working a couple of hours a week. part-time mayors. This has been a full-time job for a long time, and we haven't had that benefit. And others who worked it full-time might have found some solutions, might have poked their head up and said, I don't have a business background, but I know this is not good. How can I get some help for this? So we're putting things into place that will matter in the long run, and that people will have a sense of pride. The idea that we could have, in the stress that we've been under, that we could have 6, 7 new businesses coming to town or wanting to open up. And granted, these are mom and pop businesses, but that we could attract them tells you a whole lot about what people on the outside are looking at Little Falls and seeing a gem. We need to feel that same way. We've been through, hell and back, right? And we are on the upswing. And the fact that people are feeling confident about our community and want to be a part of it. You look at people who want to move here. Lots and lots of people like the tranquil solitude of Little Falls. They sit in the park and it's quiet. They're not used to that. We've got a lot going for us. It's just a matter of making sure we survive and get up, dig out and continue to dig out. We don't miss a beat. Every single day we're working on it.
Good. I think a lot of people appreciate your effort and your energy and your dedication. I think it's great.
Thank you.
It's great. But I did forget one thing I wanted to ask you. The Overlook project, the Overlook Inn project.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anything new on that?
Nothing new. Last I heard, they were looking for key personnel who really know resort business to step in and to help guide the design and what would really be needed to make sure they get a full ROI on this big investment. And so that's where they've
But it's
been.
still out there.
It's still something that's viable, and they're taking their time with it, which I think that's a big investment, and they want to make sure that they're doing it right.
Okay. Great. Thanks again for taking the time. It's always good. Mm-hmm. It's always good to give the people an update.
Well, my pleasure. It's always fun talking with you, and no telling what questions might come out.
Yeah,
so
well, we usually cover
really
a lot of ground, and that's the purpose of this whole thing. So
yeah.
That's your update from Mayor Kaufman. Looking forward to the next time. Thank you.